everyone. Welcome to the first ever episode of Women's Policy Action Network discussion series, where we talk all about reforms that are essential to increase the low female labor force participation and also, most importantly, to economically empower women. I am Thathsarani Siriwardena, your host for the day. Today, we are joined by Mr. Isuru Gunasekera. Mr. Isuru, it's good to have you with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Today, we will be discussing about parental leave in Sri Lanka. This includes both maternal leave and paternal leave. Before we get into the discussion, let me give you a brief introduction about Mr. Isuru. Mr. Isuru Gunasekera is an Executive Vice President of the John Keells Group and the Group Chief People's Officer and Head of Sustainability, Enterprise Risk Management and Group Initiatives. To kind of set the context for our discussion today, I think paid leave is one of the most instrumental in terms of kind of empowering women. Paid parental leave kind of helps women in terms of balancing their domestic work and also their career aspirations as well. To kind of see the current labor laws in Sri Lanka, there's no current provisions which mandate the paternal leave. There's this one act, which is the Public Administration Circular, which says that 3 days of special leave to public officer on the occasion of the birth of a child to his wife. In terms of maternal leave, we have the Maternity Benefits Act and the Shop and Office Act and the Maternity Benefits Ordinance, which was amended in 2018 to kind of granted and kind of extend the maternity leave to all female employees for every child. From June 2018 onwards, every birth entitles a female employees to a full 12 weeks, which is 84 days of paid maternity leave, excluding any other holidays that is coming under that particular law. So kind of diving into our conversation, I think John Keel Holdings was one of the first company ever to introduce a 100-day parental leave policy. I kind of want to know, how does this parental leave policy look like? And does this parental leave policy, does it goes across all the sectors you have under John Keells Holdings? And what are the parameters of this policy that has been introduced?
Sure, thanks for the question. So let me take a step back. I think we, first of all, consolidated our diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives under what we call 1JKH, right, which is our DE&I brand and initiative and program. And this is one of the initiatives that are underneath it. There is another raft of 30, 40, 50 different programs that we run. The main reason for introducing this is really threefold. One is that we want to highlight the father's importance in early childcare. Second one was to remove the stigma that is associated with hiring women, so that it's a clean, level playing field. And the third one was we wanted to have an impact outside the John Keells organization, so that when the fathers who are working within John Keells take parental leave, that the mother who's outside the John Keells network, as it were, can join their organization and go back to work. So those are the three key things. In terms of where it is implemented, it's across all industry units, it's across all demographics, it's across all employee levels, and it's applicable to every single person. So there is no sort of bias there. It is available to everybody to take.
Right. In terms of parameters of this policy, how does it look like?
Yes, so it is for the birth or the adoption of a child, regardless of what it is. And parent leave has to be taken, the 100 days has to be taken within the first 200 days of the adoption or birth of a child.
Right.
So which gives some flexibility for the mother and the father to work through it.
Right.
Essentially saying that almost for the first 9 to 10 months, there can be a parent at home.
Right, okay. It's really fascinating to learn about the entire policy process, because I think this is the first time I'm hearing something like this from Sri Lanka. And I think that's kind of very progressive from coming from a the private sector point of view, because I think when you don't have enough labor laws kind of give the same kind of opportunities for all people, I think taking an initiative from the private sector is kind of showing the private sector other companies and also the public sector as well. Like this is how it should be done. Also, I would like to know, Mr. Isuru, so in terms of like providing parental leave, especially paternity leave, just because it is there, it doesn't mean that the father might take paternal leave, right? So it comes with a change of mindset. I would also like to know in terms of kind of implementing this policy, because still we have this kind of stigma around it, like saying, okay, child should be taken care of by the mother, not just the father. What are the problems you had kind of initiating this policy?
Yes, absolutely. That's a very good question. At the outset itself, we understood the fact that there would be a mindset change and that everybody who kind of hears about this is not naturally going to understand what this really means. So across all levels, especially the blue-collar workers, especially the non-executives, we had a lot of awareness sessions with experts, with family planning units, trying to explain exactly what the father's role should be so that it is understood at the same time that it's implemented. And you're right, it comes with its own challenges, and it gets taken up sometimes not in the entire 100 days at a stretch. Sometimes they want to take it in different segments and intermittently. But regardless, I think the important thing is for that mindset change to take place gradually, and over a period of time it becomes a norm and not something that is special law or anything that is strange. So it is now taken up quite well.
Yes, I think that is also, it's because it also have a trickle down effect, right? Because you are building a next generation who kind of see what is going through with their parents, and obviously when they go for their own workforce or when they go for a job, they would also require, okay, these kind of facilities should be given for us as well.
Absolutely.
So there is a trickle down effect in terms of generation, and also in terms of other men who are working in other sectors. Okay, if John Keels can provide something like this, why can't we be given the same kind of benefits?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that is amazing to know. Do you think in terms of introducing this policy, what is the main impact it had on the workforce in John Keels?
Well, it had two sides to it. I think the organization itself had to restructure itself. We had to do a lot more contingency planning, keeping in mind that, for example, if you take the leisure sector, which probably got the most impact out of this in terms of having challenges to deal with, they are about 12 to 15% female, and the rest of them are male. Right. So you found that suddenly 85% of your staff who usually would not have taken parental leave suddenly had to take. And there are extremely unique jobs in there, like chefs and restaurant managers who are usually at the moment male. It's something also which we are trying to change. So contingency planning and backups had to be really planned through, and it had a lot of business impact in that sense. But I'm very encouraged by the fact that the leisure sector really pushed through it and made sure that it did not let them impact the implementation of it, that we somehow found a way to do it.
Also, in terms of implementing this policy, I would also like to know from a business point of view, how it has impacted you all overall. And also in terms of how the board taking this decision, how did the process work? Was it challenging? Did the board was like very happy about the proposal in the first place, or did it take some time to like convince them, provide them statistics, and how did the process kind of work?
Sure. So if you talk about the business impact in itself, I think it's been very positive. If you look at the new generation of the workforce that is coming into play, these sort of policies mean a lot. And I think the younger generation looks for organizations that resonate with their values a lot. And I think this is one of them. The other impact is in terms of retention. You also find that family units who find that the spouse's organization offers this sort of service, there's a lot more stickiness from the family because they're appreciative of it. So I think from a people perspective, the business impact is very, very real and very positive. The proposal of actually making this change to the board, I think it went very well in the context of it's a big change. We used to have 3 days long time ago, then we went to 5 days. So we from 5 to 100 days was a big jump. But I think the concept of, the reasoning behind why we did it was very well taken. And the sponsorship from the top was amazing. So I think that really, those combinations helped. And the reasoning behind it really was taken well, and it wasn't really too much of a problem, and it's very refreshing to have that kind of board sponsorship.
Absolutely. Also, Mr. Isuru, I know as of 2020, the John Keel Holdings Group, they offered an employer-supported childcare system as well. But this is also outsourced by other care providers services. But it's also at a subsidy rate for all the staff. Was it easier to outsource daycare centers as opposed to building your own?
Yeah, so we looked at both options, and I think to have your own and the amount of caregivers that you need for an organization like us, we were still too early to tell what the take-up would be.
Right.
And since we are also located in various different regions and areas, having one daycare center wouldn't have helped. So we needed to outsource it to have that option for different geographical business units to be able to access it.
Right.
Currently, we have 3 service providers in various parts of Colombo. Having said that, we want to increase that footprint, but it's a step-by-step process. So hopefully we will get there.
Okay. Also, what was providing, like going for a kind of like outsourcing the childcare facilities? What was the red tape around it in the process?
Yeah, there was not really red tape. It was about making sure that the quality and the services that were being provided was up to par. So we have a parents network and a parents connect team that looks into the requirements of, the CCTV cameras. Are the quality of the providers good? Are the locations really hygienic, etc.? So we do that audit.
Right.
So we want to make sure that the facilities that we outsource to are also up for particular standard by not just saying, look, it's available.
Yes.
So those were the sort of parameters that we had to cut through and make sure that they met our requirements. But other than that, it was really quite seamless in terms of tagging them on.
I think it's very, very important because you shouldn't be providing child care services just for the sake of it. You have to make sure it's quality care services that is being given for all people. So my other question, we will be diving a little bit in terms of how the state kind of take the maternity benefits kind of a aspect. So Verity Research did a calculation which states that maternity leave benefit cost around 0.5% of tax revenue in 2021. This is compared to Samurdhi repayments amounting to 4.2% of the tax revenue. Right? It doesn't even make, it's so small. If the state had to kind of take the burden of paying maternity benefits to all the women in the workforce. Do you think having the state share a cost of the maternity benefits paid leave would help the private sector? How does it work?
Yeah, I think it would be extremely progressive. But I think given that might be a little bit, future born, the private sector will definitely need to take the initiative in doing this in the interim, if should it come. I know that Scandinavian countries do this very effectively. The fact that the government is now looking at actually mandating paternity leave is a step in the right direction. Yes. So these are baby steps. Hopefully we will get there. Yeah. But I think the private sector needs to take this initiative on their own at this point. Because if the state-sponsored childcare would come, it will be a long time away, and I don't think we should wait for that.
Yes, I agree 100% because with the current state, how the current state of the country looks like in terms of economic-wise, expenditure, like providing expenditure in terms of social care should be one of the most priorities at the moment, but it's also because of you have IMF targets to achieve, you have salary wages being asked to be increased from the public sector. So they are also trying to manage all those stuff while also providing social care, providing social infrastructure for people. As you said, I think it's also like in the long term, we can hope for something best. But in the short term, I think the private sector should kind of step up their own game and kind of provide all these benefits. And because at the end of the day, the more you provide parental leave and say childcare facilities, the returning back for the company will be higher.
Yes.
So I think that is a step in the right direction, absolutely. I would say. Also, Mr. Isuru, I think prominent companies like John Keel Holdings taking initiative in terms of implementing such policies like parental 100-day paid parental leave policies. It's also kind of giving a signal for its own people and even the people who are in the same kind of sector about how to about how taking care of children is not something that a woman should do. It should be a kind of shared burden between both men and women. And also offering equal number of maternal and paternal leave is also kind of eliminate discrimination in which associate with recruiting women into their organization. So I finally would like to know in terms of what is the messaging that you would like to kind of share with our audience in terms of who are thinking about starting this process or who are thinking providing parental leave for their employees. What is your messaging would be?
Yeah, so this was also a key intention of us when we set this out, is that we wanted to send the message that, JKH is in 7 industry verticals and, possibly representing most of the economy in terms of different businesses. So technically, if JKH can do it, in these 7 industry verticals, there's no reason why anybody else in these businesses can't do it. And I'm actually very encouraged by the fact that since inception, the last 1.5 years or so, I've seen the number of companies that have either increased their paternity leave or introduced for the first time as a result of what we did. So I think it is gathering momentum. There's a lot more pressure. And then the more we keep talking about it and, hearing about it, I think employees will also ask for it. And it doesn't have to be 100 days. Yes. It has to be something in that direction, and hopefully we'll get there.
Yes, I think something is better than nothing.
Absolutely.
So start from somewhere.
Yes.
So we have come to the end of our discussion today. Thank you, Mr. Isuru, for joining with us today and giving us your valuable time to have this conversation. Make sure to subscribe to our Advocata YouTube channel and our other platforms if you want to see the following videos of this discussion series. And stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you.